Hi everyone, today is March 2nd, 2019, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger, and this week in the Duel World, we have seen the arrival of Tyranno Hasselberry, finally. He previously showed up as a roaming duelist, but we finally get to get him. Very exciting news indeed for everyone who loves Dino DNA. So, we're going to talk about all his new cards. He actually has a bunch of new skills as well, so we're going to see if any of those are relevant. Also this week, we have announcement of the next Kaiba Cup, a few new cards as well, other than the Hasselberry cards, and also the introduction of a new segment to the show where I asked people on Twitter about Kawaki Meirus. So I'm going to read off some of the responses we got and talk about that as well. A new segment called Survey Says. Okay, so this week, myself as a player, of course, the ranked duels ended for the month, and this month was pretty crowded. It was February is the shortest month of the year, obviously, and they had the KC Cup, so you had like 10 days after the end of the KC Cup to try to hit King of Games. I actually did go play games and, wasn't completely burnt out. I did get to Legend 3, actually, in the end, but I fell back to Legend 2. I think if I actually did roll with Vampires, I would have gotten King of Games, or some other deck, but I stuck with Noble Knights just to see if I could do it. I know in Platinum, I split time between Noble Knights and Karakuri, and it's possible that Karakuri may have been the better choice in Legend, I don't know, but I felt Noble Knights had a shot against the Kawaki Meirus. They're not a horrible deck because they do have protection. They'll let their monsters stay on the board for a few turns. But ultimately, I did face nonstop Kawaki Meiru players with their killer hands and consistency and cards, of course. And I guess the balanced version of my Noble Knights just wasn't even the balanced version wasn't consistent enough to ensure that I had my best hand. So that's kind of what prompted my question to the community this week. I was upset, I guess. I was salty about Kawaki Meirus, and I think they should be nerfed now. I'm on that board. I'm on that train, I mean. So my season ended there. Of course, I'm going to talk about this upcoming season and why it's important, but I still don't know what deck I'm going to play. I know Vampires are playing Kaiba Corp Bling now, so that might be something I would like to try. And of course, they are also playing a card I liked a lot in Vampires, so I'm going to talk about that too as well. So first off, let's move on to esports. Duel Links Meta Weekly number 61 happened, and they accordingly to the Kawaki Meiru dominance, they went along with that. And 12 of the top 32 decks were indeed Kawaki Meiru. Most of the decks brought were Kawaki Meiru, and they led the way with 19 decks brought, and Vampires were second at 8. So nothing but Kawaki Meirus now. First place, Irving. Tie that binds Kawaki Meiru. It's the same deck you see, right? 3 Ur Knights, 1 of each of the accessory monsters, Sandman, Ice, and Wall. 3 Maximus, 3 Diamond Cores, 3 Iron Cores, 2 Hey Trune, 3 Sphere Karibo. I guess those are the flex spots, right? The Karibos. And nothing new, yeah. I guess the Sphere Karibos do prevent the bricking. That's why they're there. That seems to be the only way you beat Kawaki Meiru is to not let them brick. To make them brick, so that's what it is. Second place, Shiny Sophion beat down Mecha Phantom Beast. So she brought a deck that not many people are familiar with, and this one has 3 Tetherwolves, 2 Black Falcon, 1 Haralard, and 2 Mega Raptor. I think we previously saw Tetherwolf being packaged into something else as a wind with the Elemental Heroes, but this one's just only Mecha Phantom Beasts, so it uses their abilities the best. And if you look at the other parts of the deck, 3 Floodgates, 3 Paleozoic Canadia, 2 Needle Sealing, 2 Econ, and 3 Aerial Recharge, which is a trap card that works with the Mecha Phantom Beast. It's a control deck, and it's a very extreme control deck, actually. Needle Stealing clears the board up to twice, and because the Mecha Phantom Beasts, so as long as they have a token out, they are not destroyed. So typically they'll have 3 things on the board, one of them being a token, and then they could just clear the opponent's board when they play a bunch of stuff. So very strong control deck. Aerial Recharge provides continuous tokens, and that's a card we have not seen before. So definitely a deck to keep an eye out if you have the cards, of course. Some of the older cards are pretty cheap. They're trader cards, so you can get those there. Third place, Snifus, Kybercorp Bling Vampires. So vampires have been taken over by Kybercorp Bling in the Duel Links meta community mostly, and everyone has a prismatic econ. I think early on, everyone was just spending their prismatic tickets on the econ because Kaiba was so hard to farm for some reason, and it just allows vampires can lose 1,000 life really easily, and of course they buffed the skill a bit, so there it is. And of course, I mentioned in the beginning that vampires are kind of reverting to an old card, and that old card is a card I like a lot, Vampire Grimson. If you're not familiar with Grimson, it's a 5-star monster. It basically protects all your monsters. You just have to pay 1,000 life points to protect your monsters, and it can happen multiple times a turn, of course. So you could get down to 1,000, but your monsters will be safe. And when it destroys a monster, it steals it. So that's something that prevents resurrection abilities as well. This is a card I liked a lot when Masked Heroes were played a lot. So you get survive those hits, prevent the mask change cycle, and then you could win the next turn. So there are added advantages to Grimson in working directly with Kybercorp Bling. Now you lose that 1,000. You get your econ, and that might be the game. So I think this is going to be my next deck. I could build this deck. And finally, third place, Medzer R. Last Gamble Lavels. First appearance of Lavels in the Duel Links meta. Top 4. As I predicted, the most important cards, Molten Conduction Field and Dust Flame Blasts, are run at 3 each. Dust Flame Blast seems to be the only reason you would run Lavels, because they could just blow up the board. Destroy any number of cards on the field. So, the monster composition I wasn't too sure of, but this one runs 2 Laval Lakeside Ladies, 3 Laval Cannons, 2 Handmaidens, and 1 Flogus. Laval Cannon is actually what makes it work, because you basically get to recycle your banished monster. You take your banished monster and special summon it directly from, the banished zone to the field. So the Dust Flame Blast, of course, banishes. You use the Molten Conduction Field to put them in the grave. Dust Flame Blast to banish from graveyard to whatever that is. And then Laval Cannon takes them back into the field. So this is like a triple, like a triangle recycling, if you will. And of course they run synchros too. Stenin and Laval Dragon, Mistworm, Armadides. So this is a new dimension of recycling, so this has some potential as well. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see Lavels there. And this one isn't the Conduction Field you need 3 of. I guess that's a bit expensive. But the other cards aren't too expensive. Ladies, you need Laval Lakeside Ladies you need 2 of as well. Yeah. Okay. Moving on, Duel Links meta tier list update. So they've updated the tier list from the Kybercorp KC Cup to now. Tier 1, Koakimeru and Vampires. As mentioned, ad nauseum, Koakimerus are the best deck in the game. Vampires, they're talking about Grimson and Kybercorp Bling being very good. So they're staying in the top tier. Buster Bladers and Ancient Gears are in tier 2. Buster Bladers have gone down. This tier list specifically focuses on best of 3 side deck formats. So it's been cited that they have a poor matchup against Ancient Gears, so it went down a little bit. Tier 3, we have Karakuri Spellbooks and Sea Stealth Attack. Karakuri and Spellbook have gone down. Sea Stealth has gone up. We've seen that build, Sea Stealth build, where they have a lot of cards. There's a lengthy write-up about it on Duel Links Meta about why each card is in there, so it's definitely worth a look. And card curries are falling down because their sideboards are hard to predict now. It's not as one-sided as it used to be. Levels have been added to high potential. Yeah, as I mentioned, they have that, triangle resurrection synergy with the graveyard, the field, and the banish zone, so it could definitely work. Their synchro deck as well. We've seen synchro decks do well. Finally, removed control masked heroes stall decks. Masked heroes are definitely a deck that has fallen out of favor because they have to do more work. Kawaki Meirus do all that they do faster and more efficiently. The next announcement is the next Kaiba Cup, of course. It's more of an announcement, if you will. The next one's going to take place in April 4th to 15th. It seems like it's a little shorter this time. I remember the first one. The stage one seemed to have dragged on for a little bit, but that means the March season, which is this current season, is the one where we have to get high as rank as possible so you could start off earlier. That means if you get Legend or King of Games, you start off at stage 1 level 10, so you're going to have to do half of those stage 1 rank ups, which is definitely a good thing to do. And of course, there was cheating in the last Kaiba Cup, so Konami, I call it called Konami Kawaki Meiru, I guess those go hand in hand. Konami reaffirms their actions against cheaters with lifetime bans. Of course, you could just make your game again, but I guess you lose all your cards, so I don't know. Don't cheat. I guess that's the moral of the story. Main thing going on this week, Tyranno Hasselberry is here. The event is literally called I've Got Dino DNA. There's that video that's been going on online. It's been online for a while, but it's basically a cut up of the Dino DNA section. To those not familiar with the lore, Tyranno Hasselberry is a Season 2 GX character, so he was out in Season 1. He's like a freshman in Season 2, so that's why he's there. He's a raw yellow who takes over. I think he stole something from Cyrus Fro. He duels Jaden, he loses, and then he lives with him, so he becomes part of the cast. And the Dino DNA part comes in when Sartorius, who's the main bad guy in Season 2, duels him to try to mind control him. Everyone he duels, mind controls, so Chaz and Alexis are already bad guys at this point. But Hasselberry loses, and then he does not get mind controlled because he is part dinosaur. He on a routine dig for dinosaur fossils, there was a landslide that broke out, nearly broke his leg in two. Doctors had to operate fast, so they used the dinosaur bone he found. Ever since then, he's had dino DNA. He's stronger than the average Joe, and he is resistant to mind control. He is sometimes a dinosaur, and by that there's that thing with the Neospace where he's actually a dinosaur, but he doesn't respond well to certain electromagnetic waves, and that's kind of the tie-in they have to the special event here. There's a new game mode where you face the ultimate Tyranno Hasselberry, and he becomes a dinosaur, so there is definitely a cool tie-in there. Dino DNA is not just a goofy thing that they, made the character out of, but it has storyline consequences, and they incorporated it pretty well into the game. I think it's very flavorful of the game, and I think they did a really good job with what they did here in the show. Calling back to the show with the Dino DNA. So let's talk about the new cards. So there's several ways to break this down. He has event cards, which are drops from the event. He has level up cards, so you get the character, and you get his skills. So let's start off with the event cards. Of course, he was here last time, so I'm only going to talk about just the new cards this time. The first event card is semi-limited, because you can only get two. You get one. It's not a drop reward at all, actually. You get one for getting a certain number of points, and also you get one from the EX Trader if you have 300 stones. So it's not a card I think it's too good either, but right now it's semi-limited. That is Stego Cyber. 6-star dinosaur, 1200 attack, 2400 defense. During damage calculation, if your opponent's monster attacks while this card is in your graveyard, pay 1,000 life points. You can pay 1,000 life points. Special summon this card. If you do, you take no battle damage from that battle. But banish this card when it leaves the field. This is a quick effect. You can only use this effect of Sego Cyber once per turn. This card isn't a card you want to summon for one tribute. It's a card you want to throw away. So you throw it away, and you pay 1,000 life points, and it comes back to protect the board. It's not dinosaurs you think of being very aggressive, and certainly a lot of their cards are pretty aggressive. Here, they ramp a little bit, so this doesn't really fit that. It's more of a control card, situational stall, I like to call it. So I don't really see this card seeing a ton of play, but maybe some stall decks can make some use out of it. Of course, it doesn't have to be a dinosaur. So this kind of card is a dinosaur, but it could just be in some other deck, some kind of control deck. Survival's End. Trap card. Destroy as many normal monsters on the field as possible. If you do, special summon level 4 or lower dinosaur type monsters from your deck up to the number destroyed, but destroy them during the end phase. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one dinosaur monster you control, and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. So this depends on the meta, and there aren't a ton of normal monsters. You see the card Curse of Anubis, for example, see some play now, because everything's an effect monster. I think the most common normal monster we saw recently was Blue Eyes White Dragon, and that deck is almost. A lot of lower level players still grind it in ranked duels, but it's starting to see less and less play. Of course, destroying Blue Eyes would be a huge swing turn, but I think Survival's End is meant to be for a deck with normal dinosaur monsters, and you could just run a bunch of stuff. Frostosaurus is, for example, a 6-star 2600. It's pretty good. They have the Megalo Smasher X. That's pretty strong 4-star as well. They previously ran Sabersaurus, so it's more for that type of build. Of course, there's also a skill that works for dinosaurs. I think normal dinosaurs. So right now, I don't see this card seeing a ton of play either. With this Hasselberry event, there is a new archetype of Evolves. So there's the Evolve Tiles and Evolve Swords. The first one of these is Evolve Tile Pluro. 1-star reptile, 200/200. If this card you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Evolve monster from your hand. So this is one of those little monsters. Destroy it easily and special summon something stronger from your hand. I'm going to talk about the Evolve next, I guess, but the problem right now is when we have two, and one's a bit better than the other, but both of them are not too strong. So as long as we are limited by the release of Evolve, this card isn't too useful. So when more of those cards come out, we can make more use out of this card. It is easy to destroy, though. Destroyed by any condition and sent to the graveyard. Evolsaur Terias. 6-star dinosaur, 2400/600. When this card is special summoned by the effect of an Evolve Tile monster, it loses 500 attack. On its own, it's a 1 tribute, 2400, which, with no other ability, is not good enough to see play. Special summon is just a 1900. So, you probably want the Jurassic World field on the board, so it becomes a 2200, which is okay. It's solid. It competes with the Samurai Skull. This is the worst of the Evolsaurs. There's a better one, of course. And the funny thing about the Evolsaurs, if you look at the artwork, in the background, there's some biochemistry going on. There's some organic molecules. There is evolution of man. There's a lot going on in the background of these cards, and it's kind of hilarious. So when you get to zoom into these cards, check out the background of all these Evolve Tiles and Evolsaurs. Alright. Level up rewards for Hasselberry. Once you finally get Hasselberry, you get to use him and play his cards. And I would be remiss not talking about his base monster, which you only get one of, and I have to look up right now. It is Ultimate Tyranno. It's the one that comes one of in his deck. 8-star dinosaur, 3000/2200. This card can attack all your monsters your opponent controls once each. During your battle phase, if you control an Ultimate Tyranno that can attack, other monsters other than Ultimate Tyranno cannot attack. So, 3000 attack is good. We have several monsters in the game. Maximus, Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon, that are 3000 attack. But you need to spend 2 tributes, and those monsters you do not have to spend 2 tributes. So, the only way Ultimate Tyranno can compete in the meta is to be cheated out. You can't, sacrifice 2 monsters. So, the good thing is we are getting multiple evolution pill cards. The problem is if the deck will comply to make it as easy as Maximus or Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. Maximus, I'd say, is easier than Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. That's why Kawaki Meirus are better than Ancient Gears. I see this being worse than Ancient Gears. It's harder to pull off with your deck. Everything will be more clunky. You'll be running these reptiles or winged beasts and these pills and other dinosaurs because you only get 1 Ultimate Tyranno. That's another killer. And then you'll need back row disruption. So, dinosaurs, I would say, are on the outside looking in terms of competitiveness. But, of course, you could run Ultimate Tyranno with some other bigger dinosaurs. Some back row disruption, those pills, reptiles or winged beasts, and then you could make it work. I think this could be like a really low tier deck. It's definitely fun to try out. I mean, if you're on some Plat 1 floor or Legend 1 floor and you want to play something fun, this could be it. So, that might be something I'd try on a floor just to get, just get some games in or whatever. But right now, I do not see this competing with the top tier cards right now. Moving on, Evotile Odonto. This is a card we get 3 of from leveling up. Reptile 500 to 1200. When this card is normal summon, special summon, and Evolsaur from your hand. So as I mentioned, you only get 2 of them. So there's Torias, which is the one that loses 500 attack, unfortunately, and Cerato. Cerato's better, which I'll talk about soon. Trap card, Evo Instant. Trap card. Tribute 1 reptile monster, special summon an Evolsaur monster from your deck. This one you get 3 of as well, and the evil tiles are reptiles themselves. So you could just, use their ability, normal summon, Odonto, normal summon, special summon a monster from your hand, and then use this trap card to special summon from the deck. I don't think this is a bad card. It doesn't require. Oh, it does require an Evolsaur, so it's not good right now because you only are limited to those 2 monsters. The other Evolsaur is Evolsaur Cerato, 4-star dinosaur, 1900, 1400. When this card is special summoned by the effect of an Evoltile monster, it gains 200 attack. If this card is special summoned by the effect of an Evoltile monster, each time this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add an Evoltile from your deck to your hand. So, let's say this is the better one, of course. The Torias sucks compared to this card. Comes out as a 2100. And then the field makes it 2400, which is definitely good. It's good for a card you cheat out. And you get the ability to add those cards to your hand. So this is definitely a card you want to get 3 of. You get 3 of when you get Hasselberry at level 38. So definitely jam Hasselberry in against the Vagabond, against anyone. Use your dual orbs. Get him up to 38 so you can get 3 of these guys. Solid card. On its own, it's 4-star 1900, which is pretty good too. Ultimate Evolution Pill. So this is a card you get 2 of from Rex Raptor, and you get 2 of from Hasselberry, which gives you 4. You only need 3 because you can't play 4 cards in a deck. But anyways, it's a spell card, tribute 1 reptile, special summon a dinosaur from your hand. So let's get your dinosaurs out. The thing is, from your hand is not the best. You like it from your deck because you have to draw it, so it makes it more situational. I don't know. Definitely need these cards to make any big dinosaur deck work, so there's a few of them at least, so you have options. Evoltile Westlow. This is a card you only get 1 of. 3-star reptile, 700, 1900. Flip effect, special summon 1 evil monster from your deck. I think this is better than it's not better than the Odonto, but it's the same type of card, higher defense, special summon from your deck. You need more Evolsaurs to make this really good. It might be part of it if it is. Sauropod Brachion, 8-star, 1500, 3000. And that'd be special summon from the deck. You can tribute summon this card by face up by tributing one dinosaur. So 1 instead of 2. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense. If it's flip summoned, change all other monsters on the field to face down defense. If this card is attacked, any battle damage your opponent takes from that battle is doubled. So, one tribute, we get 2 of these guys. One tribute for 1500, 3000 isn't bad. The defense is really high. But, it also comes out faster than when you have Gillosaurus. Gillosaurus is a card that didn't see play. It always had ramp potential, but it had the downside of giving your opponent a monster. With dinosaurs being a thing, you might want to go fetch your Gillosauruses. I mean, if they become a thing. You don't want to spend money on a box that has cards that aren't too good. I don't remember which set Gillosaurus is from, but it's an SR from a box. So, if you have 3 of those, 3 Gillosauruses, you can definitely jam them in your deck to make cards like this work. Anyhow, this is kind of like Amazon's Swordswoman. The point is to get hit. Maybe you give it a spike shield with chain or something to increase the defense, make them take a bunch of damage. There's definitely a way to do this. Whether you flip everyone face down, there's some kind of spell that could destroy their face downs or a trap that destroys their face downs. I don't know. Maybe like a Nobleman of Crossout type situation where you destroy all of them from the deck. There's definitely something you could do. It's a strong control card. I like this card. Big Evolution Pill. You get 1. I think you get this some other way too, but I don't remember how. Normal spell. After this card's activation, if it remains on the field, destroy it during your opponent's third end phase. Tribute 1 dinosaur monster to activate this card. When this card is face up on the field, you can normal summon level 5 or higher dinosaur monsters without tributing. Sorry, I can't talk. So, it's possible. So this basically, you play it, you tribute a dinosaur, and for 3 turns, you can play dinosaurs without tributing. Big dinosaurs. DNA surgery could work, but I think that's too clunky. Here you use Gillosaurus. Gillosaurus, special summon, tribute it, and then you could play your big guys for free. It might require too much setup, I think. It seems like it would. It could get destroyed. There's definitely a lot of removal for spells nowadays, so it could get destroyed, and you might just get 1 monster off if you even have the Gillosaurus. So, these evolution pills are not the best cards, and this is definitely an example of that. Finally, double evolution pill. This is the level 45 reward, so it might take a while to get this. It's a normal spell. Banish 1 dinosaur monster and 1 non-dinosaur monster from your hand and or graveyard. Special summon 1 level 7 or higher dinosaur monster from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can activate 1 double evolution pill per turn. It's not impossible, I think. Definitely dinosaurs are working with other monsters. I'll talk about Hasselberry's skills, but you solve the evil tiles, they work with reptiles. You could work with winged beasts as well. And synchro summoning is a way to get them in the graveyard, and then you get your synchro as well, so that's even better, I think. So this is definitely in consideration with the strategy of getting the big dinosaurs out for free or for cheap. Last part of the Hasselberry event, we will talk about his skills. He has 5 exclusive skills that are exclusive to his character, so that's definitely a lot to chew on. And I guess we'll try to talk about how competitive these skills are and see if they can fit into the meta. The first one is Survival of the Fittest. This is a drop skill. Can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,000. If you have 3 or more evolution pill cards in your deck, during your draw phase, instead of conducting a normal draw, you draw a random evolution pill card from your deck. This skill can be used twice per duel, so this is specifically for those 3 evolution pill cards. It's easy to activate at 1,000 life points, so it goes in line with those skills that were buffed, like Kybecorp Bling, for example. It competes with 2 other Hasselberry skills in a dinosaur ramp deck. So it's possible those cards don't get used at all, but I have a feeling they would be used because there's no other way to compete. To cheat out those monsters. But like I mentioned, there are skills that can be used. So if you use the skills, you might not use those evolution pills. So we'll see what's the best method for that. Dino DNA is a skill you get at level 4. At the beginning of your turns, recover 200 life points. So you basically just gain life points each turn. I think stall decks do better with Endless Trap Hell because that's more proactive. Gaining 200 life points is not too important. I mean, there are close games where every bit of life points do matter, but 200 life points isn't too much. Burn decks typically do better with Parasite Infestation, so a control type deck with Amazon Swordswoman wouldn't do too well with this skill either. There might be things with life gain like Aramages, where their abilities trigger every time you get life points. And even Vampires. Vampires, they never made much of the Tristan skill where you gain 2,000 life points, so I don't think they would be in consideration here either. The Dino Within is a drop skill. Can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,500. Send one reptile monster you control to the graveyard, special summon this from your deck. One dinosaur monster with the same attribute as that monster in the graveyard, but three levels higher. So that's the monster you special summon, a dinosaur that has 3 levels higher, same attribute as the reptile. The skill can be used once per turn. So this is one of the skills that competes with survival of the fittest. Cheats out a dinosaur at the expense of a reptile. The problem is it requires a 3-level difference and the same attribute. So this one might be a little harder to pull off. One that's a little easier to pull off is New Ultra Evolution. Can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,500. Send one winged beast type monster you control to the graveyard, special summon one dinosaur monster from your hand. This skill can be used once per turn. So I think, okay, so there's a difference here. The reptile one is better because it can special summon from the deck, but it has those requirements. This one requires the dinosaur to be in your hand. So I don't think it's the worst thing if you have some dinosaurs in your hand, but deck is definitely better from hand. This has no requirement on the winged beasts, and it could make winged beasts finally playable for the first time since Heartbeats, it seems. You definitely want to special summon the winged beast. So Elector, Sovereign of Birds is an example. Aurora Wing are cards that can special summon onto the board. And also Black Wings. I think Black Wings are an archetype to look out for with this skill because they swarm the board and special summon pretty often. So definitely something to consider here. Finally, Unstoppable Dino Power, level 20 reward. Increase the attack and defense of all your dinosaur monsters by 100. This skill can be used once per turn. So basically, the dinosaurs get buffs each turn. You activate this skill, and they are permanent as well. So this competes directly with Dinosaur Kingdom. Dinosaur Kingdom, you get the 300 automatically, and that's it. I think with the amount of spell removal there is in the game, that will get taken out at some point. So I think this is better than Dinosaur Kingdom. Of course, if you lose the battle in the beginning, you're probably going to lose the game. So there's the initial payoff of 300 isn't too bad, but this is something to consider to compete with Dinosaur Kingdom, not the other skills. But right now I see Survival of the Fittest, Dino Within, and New Ultra Evolution. There could be some new deck coming out of this where they try to cheat out the dinosaurs. Of course, they each come with their own caveats. Winged Beasts, no requirement, but needs to be in the hand, and Reptiles have to have that deck building requirement of a 3-level difference and same attribute as well. Some other new cards that have been released this week were from the Ranked Duels reward update. Of course, these are the rewards you get from the tickets, the SR and R tickets you get from doing Ranked Duels. So definitely get your games in to get these cards. The SR ticket, added to the SR ticket pool is Dwarf Star Dragon Planeteer. 4-star Dragon, 1700, 1200. Once per turn during the end phase. If this card is normal summoned this turn, you can add one level 7 light or dark monster from your deck to your hand. So this tutors, it's a slow tutor because it only works at the end of the turn. It's a chaos monster too because it works for darks and lights, specifically level 7 monsters. So if you filter with your game app, level 7 lights and darks, it's not a huge list. But there are all the Red Eyes monsters, there are all the Dark Magician monsters, and a bunch of random things like Barrel Dragons, Toon Barrel Dragons, things like that. And the secondary, the best cards to get, I think, are the Magician of Dark Illusion, and Chaos Hunter. Those cards are cards that can special summon from the hand during your opponent's turn to surprise them. So definitely, I think this card might have some potential in some really niche deck. It's possible it's not going to be competitive at all, but those are cards you can try to play for a fun deck. The other new card is Gladiator Beast Anabata. It's a rare ticket card, 8-star Beast Warrior, Fusion 1000-2800. It must be made by Gladiator Beast Augustus and 2 other Gladiator Beasts. Must be special summoned by Contact Fusion. So you have 3 cards on the board, and they become this guy. Special summon 1 level 7 or lower Gladiator Beast Fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. At the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, return it to the extra deck, special summon 2 Gladiator Beasts from your deck. So, when you're playing Gladiator Beasts, you typically don't use all the slots in the extra deck, so you can have this guy in the deck. It's a big cost. You have to have a full monster board, but you recoup the value. You get the free Contact Fusion of a monster, something like Ezudari for free, and when this card attacks and survives, you get 2 monsters back. The problem I see with this card is you need his defense is super high, but his attack is only 1,000, so you need to have an 1,000 attack monster surviving an attack and putting it back in the deck and getting 2 monsters out on the board. And Gladiator Beasts are nowhere right now in the meta, so this doesn't hurt. And rare tickets, we have a ton of stuff, so who cares, right? And if you're playing Gladiator Beasts, it's definitely a fun addition to that deck. Finally, the end ticket is Dragonist to Wicked Knight. Just a fusion of 1200, 900. The only reason I'm mentioning this card, it's one of the first TCG rares I remember getting. I played in the first set, Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, and I bought booster packs, so this was one of the cards I got. And you can imagine how disappointed I was for getting a fusion monster that is on par with a regular card you just pulled. Like the 13th Grave had the same stats, I believe. So definitely, these early fusions were meant to weed out people who were not meant to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Early on if they played this card in their deck. So, other news this week, 90 million download sale. There is the bargain. Some sales are better than others, and this is one of the better ones. 3 packs and a guaranteed SR for 99 cents in American money. I've mentioned this before many times if you remember listening, but I have an Android, and Androids have an app called Google Opinion Rewards. Basically, they track where you go. I mean, as long as you have a smartphone, they know where you are, so it doesn't matter, right? It's all moot. But they, if you go to certain stores, they also know your search history and things like that. They ask you questions. You have free money to spend on your apps. And I joined Blink, which is a gym, and Google Opinion Rewards thinks Blink is a store. So every time I go to the gym, I get 30 cents because they ask me when did I go and how much did I spend. I went to the gym and I didn't spend any money because I'm paying for a membership, so I just say that and I get 30 cents. So I just go to the gym 3 times and I get, the 3 packs in an SR. So if you're an Android user, look into Google Opinion Rewards so you could spend money on these cards. Or other apps if you so please. But this 90 million download sale is something I'm going to tap in because I got that free money from the gym. From Google Opinion Rewards. And also we get 500 gems as well. Also, I didn't put this in the notes, but the Duelist challenges happened this week. I think I solved the first 4 without help. So that was pretty easy for me. And then the Karakuri one was a bit tricky. I think I messed up on the last step. The gold dust I definitely used on the wrong monster. I think that was the last step. So I had to look up help to do that one. But the cards that we get are inconsequential. They're just double rewards for the Deal with the Phantom and some gems. Alright, so this last section, second to last section is the survey says. It's a new section that I've made. And basically I'm just going to ask a question every week. Gauge the community, get some feedback, and shout out what people have said about it. So, should Kawaki Meru hit the restricted list? I think I said restricted list, I meant limited. Restricted means banned, limited means, one of, semi-limited means 2 of. But everyone understood what I meant. And 73% of respondents said yes, 27% said no. So most people who follow the Twitter account have said yes. I'm going to read some of the responses here. I may, abbreviate what they say or substitute some words. Sharklad93 says, with Diamond Core, they are too consistent. Sure, silent decks can shut them down, but it's the fact that they can get turn 2, get a full indestructible board with a boss monster that can pop a card and still swing. Effing nutty. Definitely needs a consistency hit. Yep. I agree with everything that's said here. It seems every time, you just need an Urn Knight and the core tutors a card, and they always seem to have Maximus in the hand. So it seems the consistency is through the roof here. Duel Links Lounge says, I think they can semi-limit Maximus. It severely hits their one-turn kill potential, and they lose most of their one-turn kill eliminating cards. Enemy controller or Trunade can't use a third Maximus. They also lose access to Treacherous. I think this is the best way to do it. It's definitely better to nerf a lower rarity card because FSARs, there's some value to saying that you're grinding through your decks, your packs, and you get an SR at a big moment. Maximus is just an R, so it's better to nerf those lower level cards. And of course, putting it on the semi-limit list makes it compete with Econ, for example, and Treacherous. AJ00 Abreu says, I can definitely see a hit to Maximus and Iron Core, so you can only use one of each. So that means putting them on the semi-limit list, of course. Iron Core, I think they're going to leave the Iron Core and the Diamond Core alone, because if you nerf those cards, the whole archetype is dead. That there's going to be 0 consistency instead of 100. So I don't think Iron Core will hit, but I think Maximus would be. Call Me a Corpse takes a different point, saying, I don't believe Kawaki Meru will ever reach that point. Very bursty with a lot of one-turn kill potential, but it gets completely countered by Silent Spellbooks, Silent Swordsman Control, and several other decks. Kawaki blows their whole load and has no follow-up. I've never lost to Kawaki. Very bold statement here. I guess they are a Silent Magician or Silent Swordsman player. That is the main counter, but they're not. If you're playing any other deck, you definitely have felt bad against Kawaki Meru. And didn't you know me? I'm not going to read this tweet, but basically he wants to send the Kawaki Merus and the people playing Kawaki Merus to the Shadow Realm. I think we've all felt that way when we're frustrated with the meta, and that kind of prevents us from playing the game sometimes. Alright, so upcoming news. So before, I'm just going to thank everyone for responding to the poll and also the tweets. I'm going to try to keep this up every week and make a quick little segment out of that. So definitely, I'll try to get more engaging questions. This is definitely one that's kind of a slam dunk. Most people think Kawaki Meru should be nerfed. We will see if that ever happens. Upcoming news. Trudge is coming to the gate. Duel-a-thon is coming next week. Second half of Battle City and a new Yami Yugi skill. Yubel's coming again with new cards and skills in mid-March. Duel Quest and Sartorius late March. Sartorius is notable because I think a lot of his cards are not released in the TCG, so it's possible there are cards coming to Duel Links before TCG. That has happened with Ojaman Dala, I believe. That's one of the cards, or Oja Match, I forget which one. But Duel Links is becoming important. Planned updates, mid-March. 5D's characters raised to level 35. Very big deal. We might get new cards out of it. We might get duplicates. We're definitely getting some gems, so big improvement there. And of course, there's Synchro Monsters too, so it's possible to get new Synchro Monsters. Late March, improvements to Auto Deck. I've never used Auto Deck personally, so if you do enjoy using Auto Deck, then that's good for you. Alright, so if you made it to the end of this episode, I want to thank you and lend out just to say that I am looking for a co-host for this show. I have found doing the show notes on my own is a bit much work, and it does help to talk to someone on the show. So, as mentioned before, I will be doing some screening for some people and some interviews maybe on Skype. So if you are interested, please let me know at Green Ranger CCG on Twitter or at duel_assessment. I don't get messages, notifications from people I don't follow, so it might be a while before I actually see the message, but I will try to respond to everyone. As I mentioned, there is screening. So the screening basically is just to be consistent, to see how available people are. If someone is let's say they have a young child, it might be an obstacle to being on a podcast because you have to tend to the needs of the young child, or if they work on the weekends, things like that. Those, I'm not trying to discriminate against people, but it's just about making sure people are consistent with their times of doing the podcast. Of course, this is an English-speaking podcast, so I'm going to struggle with any other language, so that's definitely an issue there. I prefer people being on Eastern Standard Time, but we can make it work if people are available when I'm available, things like that. And once you make it through the screening questions, I'm probably going to talk to you on Skype and bring the next round into show appearances. So I might have people on the show and see who the best fit is. And it's possible I might not get anyone at all, and I'm fine doing it on my own for now, but I am looking for a co-host for now, so please send me a message if you're interested. So that is it for us for the podcast today. Thank you very much for listening. You can find this podcast anywhere. Search the Duel Assessment. We're definitely on Spotify and everywhere else. YouTube. No one really uses the YouTube, but we're there. The podcast, the website, and show notes are on the duelassessment.wordpress.com. Email me at duelassessment@gmail.com. Or as mentioned, Twitter, duel_assessment, me at Green Ranger CCG. So good luck everyone with the Hassleberry event, and I will see you next week.